All right, today we're diving into the story of one of the most decisive and, frankly, most famous naval battles in all of history. We're talking about a legendary admiral, a plan that basically threw the rulebook out the window, and a victory that would shape the world for 100 years to come.
So here's the big question, right? It's the ultimate underdog story. How in the world does a smaller fleet facing a bigger and, on paper, more powerful enemy not just win, but win a crushing victory? Well, the answer is all about a single moment of pure genius.
Okay, let's set the scene. The year is 1805. We're off Cape Trafalgar, just off the coast of Spain. Two massive fleets are sailing right at each other. For Britain, the stakes could not be higher. Napoleon is running rampant all over Europe, and the Royal Navy is pretty much the last line of defense. Everything is on the line. Now, this wasn't just another battle. Historians have called what happened next the most crushing victory in naval history. I mean, think about that for a second. That is a huge statement, but as you're about to see, it was absolutely earned. So, let's break down the odds, okay? You've got Vice Admiral Lord Nelson and the British Royal Navy. They have 27 of what are called ships of the line. These are the battleships of their day. And they are facing a combined French and Spanish fleet that has 33. So just looking at the raw numbers, the British are seriously outnumbered. But you see, Nelson had an ace up his sleeve. It was this incredibly bold, totally unorthodox strategy that he called the Nelson touch. He had absolutely no intention of fighting a normal, predictable battle. Oh no, he was planning to completely rewrite the rules of naval warfare right then and there. And you can see the difference right here. The normal way of doing things, the line of battle, was, well, pretty formal, believe it or not. Two long lines of ships sail past each other, parallel, just blasting away with their cannons. It's predictable. Nelson's idea? Forget all that. He wanted to sail directly at the enemy line in two columns, like two giant spears, and just punch right through their formation. The goal was to create total chaos, turning one big battle into a bunch of smaller, brutal, ship-to-ship brawls where he knew his better-trained crews would have the edge. So here's how this beautifully brutal plan was supposed to work, broken down into 3 simple steps. First, you approach head-on. This is the crazy part. You know you're going to take a massive beating. Second, you smash through their line, completely shattering their formation and their ability to communicate. And third, you isolate their ships in the chaos and destroy them piece by piece in what Nelson himself called a pell-mell battle. It was an insane risk, but the payoff could be total victory. Now, as the battle actually kicked off, there was a problem. The wind was incredibly light. This meant the British approach was just agonizingly slow. For almost a full hour, Nelson's ships were sailing straight into the firing line of the enemy fleet, taking hit after hit, completely unable to fire back. Talk about a test of courage. Just look at this timeline. The enemy opens fire at 11:45 a.m. Nelson's own ship, HMS Victory, leading one of the columns, can't even start shooting back until 12:30. That's 45 minutes. 45 minutes of just enduring a storm of cannonballs and splintering wood. The bravery that took is, well, it's hard to even imagine. Okay, so we've seen the big picture, the grand strategy, but now let's zoom right into the heart of the chaos, because the plan worked. Nelson's flagship, HMS Victory, smashed through the line and almost immediately got tangled up in a life-or-death struggle with a French ship, the Redoutable. And when we say close quarters, we are not kidding. This isn't long-distance cannon fire anymore. This is up close and personal. The ships are literally locked together, their masts and ropes all tangled up. This is a fight to the death from only a few feet away. It was just absolute mayhem. You have cannons firing at point-blank range, blasting huge holes through the sides of the ships. Sharpshooters are up in the rigging, picking off anyone they can see on the deck below. Sailors are literally jumping from one ship to another, fighting with pistols and swords and even throwing grenades. The decks of both ships were just a scene of pure bloody chaos. And then, right there, in the middle of this furious duel, at the absolute height of his triumph, as his brilliant plan is unfolding perfectly, the man behind it all is struck down. The battle is going to rage on, of course, but the tide has already turned. The British were well on their way to the incredible victory Nelson had planned for, but it was about to come at the highest possible price. The irony here is just gut-wrenching. With all the thunder of 100 cannons firing around him, Nelson wasn't taken down by a cannonball. He was hit by a single musket shot, fired by a French sniper hiding in the rigging of the Redoutable.
the very ship he was locked in combat with. He would live just long enough to hear the news that his plan had worked, that he had won his greatest victory.
And what a victory it was. Look at this. The final tally is just staggering. The combined French and Spanish fleet lost 22 ships. 22, sunk or captured. And the British, they lost 0. Not a single one. That is what a crushing victory looks like. The Nelson touch didn't just work, it was absolutely devastating.
So all of this leaves us with one final, really profound question to think about. The Battle of Trafalgar saved Britain from invasion. No doubt, it cemented its control of the seas for the next century, but it cost the life of the absolute genius who made it all possible. So was the greatest naval victory in history worth the price of its greatest hero?